Hello, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this special astrology report. This is for the weekend of the 19th and 20th of December and for the much anticipated winter solstice of December 21st, 2020, where we will have not only the solstice point, which is in the Northern Hemisphere, the sun at 0 degrees Capricorn. We also are going to have the grand conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius. And it actually will also be the first quarter moon. So the moon and the sun will also be square at 0 degrees Capricorn and Aries, which presents our crisis in action from the new moon solar eclipse that we had. So wow, so much has happened already. And let me just tell you, we'll go through this transit by beautiful transit just to map out this whole thing. But I will say that since Saturn, as you see, has already moved into 0 degrees Aquarius, um, this new age has already been crystallized, and I posted a number of things on my feed on Facebook that really confirmed what I had suspected, which is we've already made the shift. Saturn has given a structure and a form, and today is when Jupiter steps into Aquarius, and he is the CEO, the head honcho of all of this. And so now that a structure has been formed, there is some crystallization here. Jupiter is ready to step into its leadership position in this new age. And it's when they come together at this solstice that the sanctioning of this actually can take effect. But the shift has already happened, make no doubt about it. And so I've talked about this on the Daily Medicine Intuitive yesterday, but there was a very distinct explosion almost of energy on the 17th when Saturn did move into Aquarius. Many people had reported a very sudden, explosive set of behaviors and energies. I posted about it as well in terms of a personal experience that out of nowhere, people were just kind of erupting in chaos. And it was this last, I would say, bit of density that was left behind in all of us that needed to be brought up, to be seen and let go of, because we have made this shift already. So when we come to the solstice, it's really about the sanctioning of what has already happened with Jupiter and Saturn meeting. But that's not to take away from the importance of all of these transits and the the glory of this moment, of course, is there for us to bask in, but we don't have to wait for the 21st. And there may or may not be some grand event that really signifies this. There's so many things happening on the 21st astrologically. Like I said, the actual solstice point itself, the first quarter moon squaring the sun, and then obviously Jupiter and Saturn coming together. So there's a lot of potency. But as of today, the 19th, there's just as much potency. We have the sun and Mercury are going to conjunct right at the galactic center today as well. And so and Jupiter entering Aquarius. So there's just so much happening. We also have Venus, who is in a trine to Chiron, now direct. So a real potential here to, look past the tragedy, look past what we normally see with our ego structure when we're talking about Venus in our relationships in the material world around us, what we value, and this can really support the transcendence that we have some sort of feeling that we want to get past. Okay, it hasn't totally formalized yet, it hasn't totally manifested yet, but we do see this potential to transcend our own sense of victimhood and wounding. And Venus is at a very interesting degree, that 5 degrees of Sagittarius, about the wise old owl perched on a tree, the eyes that can see through what normally we can't see through, because the owl is able to see in the dark, right? And so when it comes to the people and the aspects that we value, if we can maintain this composure, if we can see through what we normally wouldn't see through, this supports very much this movement forward with Chiron, and things are being cut away big time. And one of the things that I had brought up, at least in my own personal writing, is that, you know, the things that can't come with us are going to cut away very drastically, and there are people exiting. There are people exiting a lot. There are relationships that are exiting. It's going to manifest in a lot of different ways. Whatever can't come with us is going to be cut out, and sometimes it'll be drastic. And Saturn, Saturn is just that boundary in that form. 0 degrees Aquarius is the concretization of an ideal collective situation. And so Saturn is the concrete, and Jupiter comes along and is the manager, right? Is to put it into action. So there is so much happening right now, and that's why we're only going to go over the weekend. There will be certainly more to be said on the solstice for the week leading up to the full moon, because we are in a lunar cycle that started with a total solar eclipse as well. So and you can go back and watch that report. I will link it at the very end of this video. And it talks about the solstice as well, but it was very focused on the imagery and the archetypal symbolism of this new moon, of the new moon solar eclipse. And so this is the 19th. Let's walk back a little bit from where we are before the moon came into Pisces. This is where the moon will be on the actual solstice as well. So this is important to consider, but let's walk back a little bit. Let's look at what's going on here with the moon in Aquarius, sextiling the sun, sextiling Mercury, all at the same 27 to 28 degree mark, okay? So we've had this opportunity with the moon in Aquarius to really come into coherence with natural law, and use the feeling that we have about that and our ability to feel out the patterns of balance of natural law and harmony. And if we were able to do that, this and remember, Aquarius is fixed air. This is use of our intelligence and our mind, and this laser focus from our perception of the third eye, as opposed to Mercury, which is, the objective reality, our ability to intellectualize and to work with the mental realm. They work together, but with the moon, because Aquarius is the water bearer, it's such a strong connection to feeling this coherence and the harmony. If we are able to do that and really see every single act as a harmonic and beautiful ritual permeated with meaning, even at the most basic level, like chopping firewood, for instance. If we were able to really see that every single thing that we do has significance and impacts the fractal that's unfolding, then this has supported where Mercury and the sun are at the very end of Sagittarius, which is that all those collective values, the alchemy of Sagittarius, and the understanding of our collective values about to transition over into actually creating forms and structure. So if we were able to really come into coherence with that particular aspect of harmony, and identify that everything we do has deep significance and meaning, then it has supported not only the fulfillment of our expression, the sun, and our mental constructs and our objective mind, Mercury, in actually creating these structures, okay? Like kind of like the, well, not even kind of, the Sabian symbol of 28 degrees Sagittarius is this beautiful covered bridge over a stream that is still in use. We can take our collective, the individuals as part of a collective, and apply our skill set and our intelligence into creating something that's actually very useful, okay, and can create a new structure, because that's what's happening now. As the old one is falling away with this movement into Aquarius, we are now creating we're setting the stage to be able to create new structures. And so this is what this sextile here was really um, bringing to our attention. And everything we do, every single thing we do, whether it is doing our chores, whether it is the way we interact with people, like I said, chopping firewood, carrying water, right? Those are things that we still have to do, but they can have deep significance and be part of the harmony rather than the dissonance. Okay. So as we move into the moon in Pisces, as we go through here, Saturn is going to sextile Juno, who is now in Sagittarius. And I talked about this yesterday, whereas Juno is Zeus's wife, Jupiter's wife, and she is now in his home territory. So Jupiter's about to come into Aquarius, right? He's got work over here, and Juno now is minding the home base and rallying the troops. Okay, she's been in Scorpio this whole time, showing us about betrayal, loyalty, commitment when it comes to these shared experiences and the power inherent in them, and now is rallying the troops at home. Right? Is taking action to get everybody into actually performing this alchemical process. Okay. And we'll sextile where Saturn is. Again, these sextiles are pretty abundant right now in terms of harmonious connections that require our participation. So Saturn has moved into, as you can see here, Jupiter's also now moved into Aquarius. Saturn has moved into Aquarius, Jupiter's moved into Aquarius, and Saturn sextile Juno in that first degree of Sagittarius. She is supporting that concrete structure. She is allowing us to see that it is our commitment and our loyalty to these shared experiences that have value to us in Scorpio. She's getting the troops rallied, bringing it back around to awaken that fire within us that gives us the will to actually take action on our collective values. And Saturn is already given some form to this, so completely supporting this as well. But we have to, again, participate in it in some way. And then Jupiter enters Aquarius. So Jupiter is now at 0 degrees Aquarius. Aquila, the eagle, and is the constellation. Altair and Terazed, 0 degrees Aquarius. These are on Aquila, bringing the lightning bolt to Jupiter as we speak. Okay, so Jupiter has stepped in and is ready to act on the structured and crystallized form of this new age that Saturn has already provided. Okay, so you can already tell that the energy has really been ramping up for the last couple of days, and today things are now moving into place. Now, the moon now is in Pisces, so it's going to start squaring all of the Sagittarian energy, and it immediately squares Juno and is soon going to square Venus. So mutable energy. Pisces is mutable water. Sagittarius is mutable fire. So that's changeable. It's malleable. It moves around to fit whatever situation it is part of and is flexible. But one is about action, and the moon is in its glory in Pisces. The moon is Pisces. The moon is the ocean of consciousness, but within us. And so this is when the birdhouse in our soul, this is why we built it, because this is where God enters in whatever vessel we have created. Okay. And the first square, right, to Juno, because she's rallying the troops, but the moon in Pisces is much more about a commingling and an interchange at all levels that demonstrates the health of a community. So it's not just about rallying the troops around those collective values of certain individuals, whereas the moon is like, I'm connecting to everything. I'm going to start connecting to all of it. I'm going to dissolve into the full experience. And this is where it's going to be. This is where it's going to see if you sink or swim. Because when you come into this moon in Pisces, all the boundaries go away. You are directly connecting either to source or to, you have left yourself open to be Archon bait at this point. Okay. And we have to make some, I wouldn't say we have to make some decisions, but again, remember, Juno is about loyalty and betrayal and commitment, whereas all of that goes out the window in Pisces. None of that exists. It's all formless. And the moon there is going to bring us to a place where we are just each intuitively and emotionally just opening up to the full experience. So it's going to challenge us. It's going to challenge us about where we want to find ourselves, because a lot of people right now are getting really caught up in the collective value system, rallying the troops, getting fired up um, to defend those collective values, those belief systems, what they identify as a collective truth. And there's nothing, I mean, this is the whole Sagittarian thing. So it's not good or bad. This is just the challenge that this square is going to provide today. Now, Venus, like we talked about, is trine Chiron. So right there, you're going to see that specifically where Venus is at today, that old owl sitting in the tree, if we're able to be poised and wise and see through the tragedy and see through what we normally can't see through into the darkness, this is going to support our eventual lift out of our victimhood. Okay. And we're talking about our relationships, and we're talking about the material world around us. And this will immediately be challenged right after, when the moon then squares Venus. Okay, so again, Venus is now about the group solidarity at this point. The game of cricket, right? It's a ritual. A game is a ritual that shows you and teaches everybody the rules to follow, and putting aside your own individual needs and wants for the sake of group solidarity. That's where we're getting at with in Sagittarius. Okay, and so the moon squaring this point, again, there's much more about an emotional dedication here to the community, and an assurance that it'll be emotionally sustained by the people. Again, these are just, it's going to start being challenged, this ability to connect to the much bigger picture here, and in our relationships and in the material world around us, and what makes Venus feel good. Remember, she's the goddess of love. She attracts it to her. She's attracting to her all of these, the game, the baseball game, the game of cricket, however you want to do it, however you want to conceptualize it. She is pulling it towards her, and she's like, no, I want to play the game. We have to all follow the rules. If we don't follow the rules, then it doesn't make any sense, and we can't actually move together as a team unless we all follow the rules. And the moon is like, I just want to be part of, I just want to emotionally support this situation. Okay, so again, I can really feel this already, this square, because there, it's like a parade, right? A parade of army officers in full dress. We want to emotionally connect to this, being of service to the community, whereas in real life and what we value, it's much more about this group solidarity in terms of our action. Okay, so it's gonna be interesting where we find ourselves today. And as we move forward, the moon is then going to sextile Uranus. Now let me show you this. Moved into the next degree. This is the story of the Good Samaritan. Please familiarize yourself with this, because this is the degree that Uranus is going to go direct in just a couple of weeks. The Good Samaritan is a story in the Bible where Jesus comes to the well, the ancestral well on his ancestors' land, and the Sumerians, they're all part of the same general group, ethnicity and being Hebrews or being Jews, but the Sumerians, they've split off from the Jews, or the Hebrews or whatever. I can't remember exactly where the distinction falls, but the Sumerians they don't like the Jews, they hate the Jews. And so he shows up to the well with his disciples and wants water, and this woman comes to the well, and he asks her to get water, and she's taken aback that he even speaks to her, because she's an outcast in her own community, because she's not married and she's had a bunch of husbands, and she's just a total outcast. And so she's already shocked that he's talking to her. So he says, bring me water, and she's just like, wow, you're even speaking to me. Okay. And because she is already an outcast from her community, Jesus actually reveals himself to his full nature to her, which is something he never did to anybody else, not even his own disciples. It was all in parable and stories. And then he would perform these, miracles and these healing miracles. But he actually came right out and said who he was to her, because she was able to actually hear him, because she was already an outsider in her own community. And the symbol is about how we can the symbol is about being able to a new quality, right, is being revealed, right? Jesus was the next iteration spiritual of spirituality, really, of God consciousness, because the old patterns were obsolete. This woman was not even part of her old pattern because she was an outcast. All right, Uranus is showing us that the path of the awakening is going to the new quality will be revealed when the old patterns are obsolete. And this is going to come in a very disruptive and transformative, radical way, of course. But the moon in the sextile to Uranus today in Pisces, there, if we are staying true to ourselves, okay, and if we stand uncompromisingly in our own truth, then we will be able to embody this new quality of being, as the old patterns are washed away, essentially. But this requires that we are able to stand in our own truth and be uncompromising about it. So this is a really, really very, oh no. Okay. Are we still here? Are we still here? Yeah, my screen did something really weird, so I just kept going through because I knew it was recording. So I hope that it looks like we're still recording. Okay, so that's today, the 19th. And then, yes, Mercury and the Sun come into a conjunction at 29 degrees Sagittarius. This is a really funny symbol because it's like this. I'm just going to read the symbol, okay? It's, what can you even say anymore without offending somebody? It's a fat boy mowing the lawn of his house on a suburban street, okay? And it's the idea that there's a desire to give beautiful form to natural forces, to the growth of natural forces. And the fact that he's characterized as a fat boy is saying that there needs to be constructive habits in order to compensate for self-indulgence, right? We need to get down to it and actually do the work and not indulge ourselves in all of the aspects of our belief systems and our collective values and all of the stuff that we benefit from by all of this understanding. We actually have to put it to use, and we actually have to be constructive about it. And so when the Sun and Mercury come together at this point, this is a huge opening from the center of the galaxy, and it will give us the ability, I think, to not only fulfill ourselves, but in the realm of our mind, the communication is going to be really strong. It's going to be really illuminated. It's going to be very sharp, and it's going to give us those constructive habits. It's going to give us insight on what we can actually do. And it's really just as simple as if we want to build new structures, if we want to take back our power in terms of what world we create, we have got to actually engage in constructive habits and do the work necessary in order for that to happen. And I think that those communications and that information and our fulfillment is going to come through with insight into these constructive habits. Okay, so here we are. That's how the 19th ends. So when we move into the 20th, which is Sunday, let's see, let's go a day ahead. It's things are going to move into Capricorn, right? This is when Mercury moves into Capricorn, and this is when and the moon will meet Neptune at almost exactly the same time, if we want to look at it here. So Mercury is going to, there's not going to be any room at this point when Mercury moves into Capricorn for our minds to veer off anyway. We have got to be focused. We have got to be on point. We have to be firm in our perspective and our objective analysis. That is Mercury, because when the moon meets Neptune, it is going to be a full spiritual merge. And if we are open for a connection with source directly, this is going to be very powerful. If not, we're going to fall right off the cliff. I mean, that's the thing. We are going to just, if we are not, you know what I mean, if we're not rooted in anything substantial. And I put this on my wall as well on Facebook, somebody else's video, and they just highlighted it so perfectly, that if we are not, people who stand on their tiptoes are not firmly planted. So if you're not firmly planted in your mind, in your objective reality, and what your constructive habits are going to be in your mind, in your thoughts, in your thought patterns, in the way that you speak, in what you consume in terms of intel, in terms of media sources, then you will just get washed away. And with the moon completely in conjunction with Neptune at this point, a direct Neptune, the potential to get washed away is so strong at this moment. So just keep that in mind as well. Along with that, we have Neptune is going to be opposite asteroid Vesta. And again, it's like, are we going to sink or swim? We don't want to get totally caught up in the action of swimming, but we don't want to get pulled underneath either and just sink into it. And there are many people that are going to do this. Again, this is going to be people exiting. Okay. And that's not to say they've done anything wrong. It's just what it is. And if you're not here to hold this high vibration moving into this next stage, then you move on to where you can, and it's gonna be okay. But this is a really strong marker for this, okay? Mercury conjuncts Capricorn, and then the moon conjuncts Neptune, and then the moon squares the nodes. And this is wonderful, because this is showing us, again, even though squares are there's such a challenge here, right? You have two different trajectories here, and they just broadside each other. One T-bones the other, and they go flying off, right? That's why you just have to lean into it and learn as much as you can. Pisces, 20 degrees Pisces, the table is set, okay? Now the nodes are very much about, there's a lot of movement here. There is a lot of action. There's a lot of stuff in the mind, the North Node in Gemini. And this in Pisces, the moon is at the end and at the right time. The individual's needs will be met, and not just the individual, but it'll be met among everybody who is part of your soul tribe, whoever you are connected to in the collective. And so again, trusting this process and not getting caught up in all of the information that we are obsessively consuming right now at the North Node in Gemini. It's not that this is it, to a certain extent, this is where we have to go. We have to go through this process in order to evolve. But that's the thing about the North Node. It can be a little obsessive getting there. And we may pile way too much onto our plate in terms of ideas and information. And again, the moon here is asking us to trust that everything we need is going to be provided. The table is set, okay? And then we move into the wonderful solstice time. So where are we at time-wise? Okay, so let's go here, because, let's see. Here's our solstice. Yay, so we've already moved into the sun at 0 degrees. Okay, need to see all those ads. 0 degrees Capricorn. What is this? Power. And it's about the latent potential for each individual to take their power back. Okay. That is moving into Capricorn. And so Mercury is already here, already gave us an indication from an objective and mental perspective, what that will require. And now the sun is here and we're fulfilling ourselves through this particular dynamic, Capricorn. And it's not just about individual power. It is about taking power within the group, right? Capitalization is the end, this last quarter of the zodiac from Capricorn through Pisces. Capitalization, that means that you capitalize on the resources that the group creates together. And so we all have the potential to capitalize on our own power within the context of the group. And that is the 10th house, right? Your public life, your professional life, your persona, what you're here to create together, and the responsibility that goes along with it. Okay. So what's happening on this day? There's obviously so much. You can see now why this report only can be for the weekend, because it's just so much to go through. So number one, the moon is still in Pisces. Okay. Venus in a quincunx to Uranus in Taurus at that degree, right? That degree of the, where are you, solstice? There you are. That degree of the woman at the well, right, is being able to let go of the old patterns of being obsolete in order to be able to see into the future. Okay. Now, first, that's what's going on. There's going to start to be a stirring in our heart to actualize things. Again, we are in Sagittarius. That is action and alchemy in the world around us with Venus. Okay. Cupid knocking at the door. We're going to want to really be stirred. We're to act on something. Okay. And the quincunx with Uranus is just going to provide an adjustment period. Okay. Giving us a chance to adjust, because those things are not going to fit together. Okay. Not at all. From there, the moon or sun moves into Capricorn. This is the mark of the solstice. This is the darkest. We're at that pinnacle of the darkest moment of the year. It marks the return of the sun in a seasonal cycle. Okay. And at the same time, the moon is then in a sextile to Pluto. This moon here at the end of Pisces, a lot of the energy is dissipating, but what it does say to us at this moment is that everybody has their own dharma, and each of us is going to get a chance individually and emotionally to connect to what is our individual dharma in amongst the, surrounded by the ocean of formlessness and consciousness, and the collective unconscious. We each are going to allow this to surface of what our individual dharma is, as Pluto is stripping away everything that has already been created that allows us to have a transcendent experience, right? The Catholic Church is, all of the organized religion in general that has provided the structure for us to have this transcendent experience is going away. And if we are able to individually connect and align with each of our individual dharma, this is going to support us as Pluto is stripping all of this away. Then Jupiter and Saturn come together in Aquarius. We've already talked about this. This is just going to be the sanction of this. Jupiter is the CEO and managing the leader, meeting Saturn at this time, that's already provided the framework and the structure. And then at this point it is on, right? This is where, and then the moon will then sextile Saturn at the, moving into Aries. Okay. So, and at the same time, it's going to sextile Saturn, it's going to sextile Jupiter, and is going to square the sun all at the same time at 0 degrees Aries. Okay. So it's already moved past Aries at this point, as you can see. Nope, my bad. All right, there we go. The moon is now in Aries is going to look at this square, the sun in that first quarter square is going to sextile Saturn, sextile Jupiter at 0 degrees. A lot of the 0 degrees energy, this new birth, this beginning of all of these different things. And with the moon at 0 degrees Aries, there's a strong impulse to be in a very individual sense, a subjective experience, the emergence of new forms and of potentiality of consciousness. Okay, so this is very supported by where Saturn and Jupiter are, because they're coming into Aquarius, into this new ideal, into the future. And we want to come into this new form, this impulse to be with 0 degrees Aries. The square to the sun, though, is a big challenge. And what are we going to do? Because we are going to want to fulfill ourselves through the reclaiming our power within the group, okay? And this is the real, I would say, the real challenge here, because this is very hot tempered with the moon in Aries, a lot of emotions flaring, a lot of, like I said, the impulse to be, right, to come into form. And this is from a very emotional and feeling based place here. And this, but that's inside, that's how we feel, right? It's giving form, structure to our consciousness, whereas the sun is the fulfillment of who we are. And those are different places, right? Those are different places. Capricorn and Aries. Aries is about the individual coming into form, and Capricorn is about claiming power within the context of the group we're part of. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I would say, because the moon is in sextile to Saturn and Jupiter at this point, is going to be very tempting to come into this emotional impulse to be something that is supported by the step into the future. Okay. And not to say that this is going to be the season here with Capricorn, especially when Venus comes into in a little while. So just keep that in Saturn, or Pluto is still here in Capricorn. So these are still important things, this structure, this form, authority, power, the professional life, our responsibility is all going to be here in terms of how we fulfill ourselves and the realm of our mind. But how we feel is really going to be much more connected to moving towards the future. Okay, so we have to be mindful of that we can't just be in one place and ignore the other. And that square is going to make that very, very clear. And then the moon will come over and square Mercury right after that. And I think this is where we'll decide, are we going to be objective and about this situation? Or are we going to see, there is here that Mercury is going to show us that there is a downside to claiming this power because of war, right? There's always the potential to go to war in order to protect and maintain that authority. That is the other side of it. Okay. And in our minds, there's really going to be a push for that, or at least an understanding of what that actually means. Whereas the moon is going to be like, well, for every impulse to be, there's an objective experience that will mirror that. And we have to be realistic about that as well. That if we want to have this impulse to be, that we also have to look at our human nature and what that entails as well. And the square to Mercury, that's, in our mind, we're going to be like, well, there is a downside to this power, which is the damage that is caused by war, because war is an inevitable part of claiming authority and power. And in some ways, it's almost, I wouldn't say a necessity, but that is a trajectory in order to keep that authority. And I think I'm really curious to see how this really plays out on the 21st. So that's a lot of information, guys. I know that it's a lot. There will be so much more information coming on Monday. I'll be doing the Daily Medicine Intuitive on Monday morning, so we can get a much, a a much, I wouldn't say clearer, but we certainly will get much more of an intuitive message on how to address these energies unfolding, this map that is unfolding in front of us through the astrology. And there will be much more information about looking ahead to the week, the rest of the month, and really the rest of this season, because January is going to be, we have Saturn that is going to be squaring Uranus in a little while. Okay, and we're also going to have Mars and Uranus are going to conjunct on the day of the inauguration. Then the sun moves into Aquarius, so I mean there's still lots more to come, but this is an incredible weekend. And just know that the shift has already happened, and what we're now experiencing is how we are going to move forward with it, and the choice is always up to us. So take care of yourselves. If you find this information helpful, please consider subscribing, liking the video. It helps the algorithm get out there. And if you hit the notification bell, then you know when I upload. I put content up every day on astrology. You can find me in social media from the description box below, and also my website if you're interested in booking a reading. I've been doing incredible work this week with people in terms of distance energy work and readings, and it has just been so affirming and so healing for everybody, including myself. So it's been wonderful. And this is a great time to be doing this, because we can't take things with us now if we are moving into this higher timeline. Okay, so take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the solstice, and I will see you on Monday. Bye.